And now, the survival show that once survived grabbing a hot PKM barrel. Smells like bacon. In this episode, we discuss whether or not arming teachers is the way to go. Howdy and welcome to In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 246. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole. Safe and sound. Big question today. Is arming teachers stupid? Only if it's the singular strategy we use to combat school shootings. We'll come back to this in a minute. There's been a lot of blowback on the idea recently. I think even Samuel L. Jackson, the scholarly man that he is, came out and mocking the idea. You know, the recovering drug addict turned movie star who's made millions glorifying violence and F-bombs. Because he's the voice of experience and intelligence in this discussion, right? There was also a post on Facebook I came across on my feed where somebody asked some interesting but leading questions. They started with, "We're going to force Mrs. Smith, the 47-year-old English lit teacher, to carry a gun and shoot at kid? Who's going to pay for the gun and the ammunition? Who's going to pay for the training of the teacher? What about liability when she shoots an innocent bystander? What if the child finds the gun in the teacher's purse and uses it?" These questions were supposed to illustrate just how stupid it is to arm teachers. But it was written by someone who can't fill in those gaps, right? You probably can. This is a cute tactic being spread all over the internet right now by the anti-gun groundswell. And like most things anti-gun, the arguments are not well-researched, logical, and they're not coming from people with actual experience. They're really just half-baked rhetoric. Now, there's nothing wrong with rhetoric by itself, but rhetoric and logic go hand to hand and should be used in concert. They also need the wisdom from real statistics and a solid understanding of the topic. Rhetoric alone is just persuasive speech. You listen to this show. So after running through those questions, you probably thought many of the same things I did. First of all, that person doesn't know what Mrs. Smith, the 47-year-old English lit teacher, is into in her weekends. She could be a big three-gun competitor who also does IPSC on Wednesday nights. Monday nights, she chills with the smooth silings of ITRH, of course. Maybe she's not the right person, but perhaps it is Mr. Jones, the 6'4", 300-pound biology teacher with more time spent pulling a trigger than most cops see in an entire career. Perhaps he's the person up to the task. He may even be a little giddy about the opportunity to train. In fact, I'm actually modeling Mr. Jones, using some air quotes there, after a listener. The reality is this. There are a lot more school teachers who are avid tactical shooters than most people think. I've personally been shocked at the number who listen to this show and out themselves privately. I say out themselves because one of the first things that comes up in a conversation is how they have to keep it a secret from everyone at work. Every time a teacher starts telling me how into guns they are, you'd think they were telling me about their alternative S&M lifestyle, or how they like to put liverwurst in their socks and look at pictures of Princess Diana on the weekends, or some other deviant behavior. Hey, I don't judge, whatever blows your hair back and doesn't spook the horses. Most of these teachers, if not all of them, are absolutely terrified of anyone finding out that they're into guns. They're pretty positive it'll cost them their job. Of the teachers I've met from the show, they would gladly give up Saturday nearly every week to go train for this. Now, as far as costs go and who's going to pay for this, look, here's the thing. This is another one of those things where these people that are spouting this nonsense don't know what they're talking about. Ammo companies would likely give huge discounts. Gun manufacturers would also likely give huge discounts. That's aside from the fact that there are plenty of teachers, as we've already kind of covered, who are already equipped and ready for someone to say it's okay for them to come out of the closet. We could probably also maybe, cut back a few of those ridiculously overpaid and overly plentiful school administrators to maybe pay for some of this. Now, for these discounts, they already do this for the cops. Next time you're at a gun shop, ask them what kind of discount an officer gets on a Glock 19. You will be shocked and jealous. Now, to illustrate this a little bit more, there's a gun class I went to, I think it was about 9 months ago, through a local college. They have a law enforcement ed department complete with a pretty cool shooting range. The ammo was included in the cost of the class. 2-day class, $250. That included 500 rounds of 5.56. You're listening to the show, you're doing the math, you're like, oh my God, that's crazy cheap. I'd pay more than $250, usually just for the 2-day class. And to put this in perspective for people a little bit better, I ran the class with my 300 Blackout SBR, which I had to provide my own ammo since I wasn't running 5.56. Because of the law enforcement pricing the college was buying the ammo for, and then turning around and including the class, it would be worth it for me to go buy a 5.56 upper for good old Betty. A good 5.56 upper is going to be, about $700, maybe a little bit more if I want to get extra fancy. In 2.5 courses, the 5.56 upper breaks even because of the size of the ammo discount. That's just me finding a ride-along sort of gun class. The person making the Facebook post also wouldn't be aware of how many talented firearms instructors would come out of the woodwork to do these classes for free. Remember, most of those instructors are parents too. You remember after the gay nightclub shooting in Florida? Well, a local shooting range here, Shiloh Shooting Range, I recommend you check it out if you're in the area, offered free concealed handgun license courses. They also discounted any purchase of a gun or ammo needed for the course. Jeff, the owner, probably thought he'd fill 2 classes. Wait for it. Instead, he had full capacity classes for a little over 2 months. And instructors were coming in from all over Texas to run the classes at their own expense. Texas is a big place. Some of these instructors were driving for 8 hours to get here and then paying for their own hotel rooms to run these classes. Of course, Facebook also ended up shutting down Shiloh's page in response because apparently teaching gay people to protect themselves is bad. As for liability, we've already figured this out for the most part with law enforcement officers. I'm not saying it's a perfect solution, but we have ready-made things we can already look at and say, well, we're already doing it over here, few tweaks, and we're there, right? This is not complicated. Now, the guns and purses things. Guns go on your person. I sometimes carry my gun in a bag, but you know what? That bag stays on my person and in control at all times. Real shooters know this and practice it. I'm not talking about the fuds who go to the range once a year and fire 5 rounds downrange to sight in their rifle and then go shoot a deer and then put their guns away thinking they know how to shoot defensively somehow. They don't. Hunting and defensive shooting are 2 different animals. That's not how defensive carry works. I know this. You know this. Sadly, the uninitiated, ignorant morons think shooters just leave their guns laying around. Now, as far as arming teachers being a singular answer, no. Just arming teachers is not the only answer. Complex problems aren't solved by singular solutions. Here's the thing. Something serious has changed in the world since I was a kid in the 70s and 80s. Guns were readily available. Fully automatic weapons were even available until 1984. Bump stocks didn't even exist because we simply, bump fired. The stock is just a dumb gimmick. So the guns didn't change. In fact, getting them has become harder. We need more than half-baked, ignorant answers from children and adults who don't know the first thing about guns, the application of a gun in a tactical manner, and blame problems on inanimate objects. These are also people who don't want to know real facts. They just want to attack an inanimate object. They don't want to deal with the real issue. We have a people problem, not a gun problem. We have a violence problem, not necessarily a gun problem. Violence is violence. It doesn't matter what you use. We need to get to the bottom of what's causing these people to think killing groups of other people is the answer to the voices in their head. We need to consider things like the issue raised by Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman in his books On Killing and On Combat. Are violent video games and movies warping the minds of adolescents who might be susceptible to this stuff? It'd also be, super grave if he'd agree to come on the damn show, too, but his assistant thinks he's too important to come on and discuss the thing he seems to be singularly most passionate about, either with ITRH or other media outlets. We need to carefully find an intelligent way of disarming people who are nut jobs. This is not going to be simple, and it is not going to be easy, and it shouldn't be approached as if it was going to be. We need less lethal ways of deterring and defending against violent attacks in schools. There are a lot of creative countermeasures banks, jewelry stores, and some government installations are employing these days. There's a lot we can learn there, and there's a lot that's been done in the last decade. We need officers in place with the training and the will to run headfirst into the fray. This is a job they're signing up for and getting a paycheck to do. Sheriff Scott Israel is the model of what we do not need in law enforcement, a political operator and activist focused on their own career and backside above the lives of others. We defend our politicians, banks, and courts with guns. We defend our homes with guns, or, for those who can't, we call people with guns to come defend us. When atrocities happen in the world, we send people with guns to stop the wrongs. We let pilots arm themselves after jihadist fruitcakes use planes as weapons. We need willing and able teachers to be the last line of defense from those who would do kids harm. And I only say guns because we haven't come up with something to also kill the soul of these sick fucking bastards. Our kids should get more than fairy tale answers based on ignorance, wishful thinking, or magical unicorn dust. After all, if it saves just one child, right? We have two big fights ahead of us, gang. The first is going to be the fight for meaningful protective measures. These must be measures based on logic and developed by people with experience who spend real time protecting others. This is not a job for politicians who only know being protected by other people with guns while they live off the lifeblood of the people. The second fight coming is going to be for your Second Amendment. It's already kind of started. I fear this one is going to be a real battle. We've skated through the last few. I think this one is going to not go away quickly. Don't waste your time with useless social media memes. Support both these fights with your time, your money, and your voice. It's time to get vocal, kids. A few final notes before we close out today. First, I've got a bit of an unexpected family tragedy we're dealing with here. It's probably going to take a few months to stabilize, so there may be some missed episodes in the next month or two. But just know that I'm doing my best not to miss any more episodes, guys. Next, Facebook. Please stop trying to friend me personally on Facebook, and stop getting pissy when I delete your request. Please like the ITRH Facebook page if you want to connect or message me about the show. I don't accept personal Facebook requests from people I just don't know personally well. And you'd be really disappointed in how intentionally boring my Facebook page is. I post a corny joke about once a month so that people don't think I'm dead. All my time is spent in the ITRH Armada Facebook group or in the ITRH Facebook page itself. That's where the action is. Okay. There's also that group of exceptionally tasteless jokes that Josh got me hooked into, but let's not go there. Show notes from this episode and other resources can be found by going to intherabbithole.com/E246. Support the show and get ITRH Roving Horde Armada members-only benefits. Go to itrh.net to become part of the Roving Horde Armada. There is a ton of members-only benefits. For example, twice a month, members get on private virtual hangs. These are a chance to hang out with me and other like-minded everyday preppers to discuss whatever is on your mind, the things you just can't talk about with anybody else. You also get access to every episode of IT Rage ever made, the on-demand bug-out bag class, special prepper spreadsheets, and an invitation to the secret IT Rage Armada Facebook group. And that's just to name a few things you get when you go to itrage.net to become part of the Roving Horde Armada. Again, that's itrage.net to find out more about exclusive members-only benefits. With that, we wrap up episode number 246. From the Lone Star State. Till next time, stay safe and sound.
West.